Hi, welcome in. Hi, guys, welcome in. Hello, hello. How's everyone doing today? Well, hello, welcome, first time visitor. I'm doing well. Thank you, Warrior Mama. I'm excited for today's talk, you guys. It's going to be lots of fun. There's Mama Zuma. Let me see here. Gotta send an invite real quick. Oh. Hi, guys. Come on in. We are about to get started as soon as I can figure out how to send an invite to Shannon. Hang on. Here we go. All right. Shannon, you have an invite sent to you. Are you there, my dear?
Hello, did it work?
Yes, I hear you. I don't see you yet, but I hear you.
Oh, all right, hold on. There we go.
I'm not
Um,
sure. No beginning, no end. I am an elder millennial, and that tends to be the age group that I attract, I guess. But everybody really, there's lots of different age groups that follow me, to be honest. So this will be a little bit of everything for everyone. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, you guys. Today is roundtable number 7, and I'm excited about today because today is the nitty gritty, right? It's the how do we put the boots in the dirt and get things going. So we have a lot of really cool things to talk about today as far as that goes. Um, Jules has another engagement she has to be at today, so it'll just be Shannon and I. But before we get started, Shannon, if you'd like to open us up with a little grounding ceremony.
sure. Yeah, totally spaced on that, but we can always improvise.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I love today is a palindrome day. It's 62626. I don't know why every year these are my favorite days. I feel like I'm just a numbers girl. So in the beauty of that 62626, the balance of that. Let's just put our hands on our hearts and be present in the awareness that we are on the cusp of moving into states of balance and harmony, both in our own beings and collectively. And I believe this in the fiber of who I am, because we all came here with intention and purpose to shift into more inclusive and more balanced ways of being. So as we are here on this day of reverse and the palindromic way of being, may we find that balance within ourselves and within the greater community of the human story as a whole. Thank you all for being here.
Yes. And thank you. All right. So today's discussion is going to be a lot more about the how-tos, right? Because this whole time we've been kind of building this up of why would we do it? What's the purpose of it? Why would we go towards a matriarchy? Why would we want to focus our lives, our own family units around this type of living or lifestyle versus what we're used to? So today is really going to be breaking down the how-tos, because there's a lot of I think, mystery still surrounding that portion of this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pretend for a moment that tomorrow morning we all agreed that the current system is not working. What would we build instead? That's the question I want all of you guys to sit with today. And later, when we open it up, we would love to have you guys join us on the panel to either ask questions or share your ideas as well. But right off the bat, Shannon, is there anything that comes to your mind when that question is asked?
I mean, I am a big proponent of food sovereignty. Um, and I think that our entire food system is broken. I'm also in education. I think the education system is broken. So those are two areas for me that I think need immediate readjustment. And I think that we get caught up in the how could this possibly change whenever we're looking at anything on a systemic level, rather than what can I do right now where I am with what I have. Mm-hmm. And, I am a big proponent of community kitchens, community cooking, community dinners. So that is my, where I partake in community building. I work at a mental health clinic, and I am in charge of all our community-based programming. So part of the mental health journey in our practice is integrating people within the community, is giving them opportunities to connect with community, because you can be doing every single thing right in your own body. If you do not have community, that is a huge part of why your healing is not kind of like sinking in. So, we can dive right into the thick of that, but and there we go. I can't find my tripod, so here we are. Yeah, I'm in my sauna right now with some yoga blocks as a tripod.
Nice.
Innovation is key, right? So that backs it up too. I can dive into that, Desiree, unless you want to give a little bit more, but that's where I believe that we can collectively really make deep systemic change if we start making small steps towards being more communally oriented in our food systems.
Yes. And I love that. And we are definitely going to get into that here in just a second. I think that that's one of the main goals that we should really be looking at, because we get so involved in the overall bigger picture that we lose track of how simple it can be by just making small adjustments in your lifestyle or in your life itself. Or if you want to do a weekly or a monthly meeting with your friends or your family or your community, it's going to be so beneficial to even just be building those relationships. Because at the end of the day, it's not even about the village, right? It's not about the land itself. It's about the community that's being built on that land. So this could happen in your own small town. It can happen right there where you're at. It doesn't have to be a 50-acre, lot that you purchase with a bunch of people. Is that awesome? Absolutely. Would that be so cool? Yes, it would. But it gets back down to the nitty-gritty. Can you function as a community? Is it possible for you? So what you're doing essentially is you're focusing in on that right here, right now, in with what you have available to you in this moment. So what I'm going to have Shannon do next is, and we're going to discuss many different layers of this today, but I really wanted Shannon to share with you what she is already doing in her community as far as when it comes to that food initiative and building those relationships. Because I think what she's doing is amazing, and it's so simple in theory, right? And we might feel overwhelmed because we've never done it before, but Shannon has. So she's here to tell you exactly how to get that done if this is something you're interested in. So if you are, and this is you, go ahead and grab your pencil and a notebook and start taking some notes, because this is really good information she's about to share. Shannon, whenever you're ready, my dear.
Oh, sure. Okay, so I'll give some background information to how the community kitchen, community cooking model kind of got started. Years ago, when my children were still very small, I was part of a play group, that you get together with people. And one of the moms moved into a house that had this giant island in the center that could fit 10 people around it. And she hypothetically was like, what if we all got together on Sunday and we all brought our farm shares, and then we could all process it together and kind of like meal plan together for the week. And, So 10 of us showed up with all of our farm shares and collectively worked on processing these vegetables, getting them pickled, getting them processed. And from there was born this every Sunday. We would actually meet every other week for a while, but for $20 each week, the 10 of us would chip in on things to make. We would make a soup, we would make a grain salad, we would make some sort of like protein based thing, and then we would process all of our farm share vegetables. And then we would package it together. So we were collectively, the 10 of us together, for $20 a week, making enough food to feed our families. And we were like, what the fuck is happening here? This is nuts. This makes no sense. This is a glitch. Like, how are we doing this? But if you think about the model that a restaurant follows, I was the manager of a kitchen at a Whole Foods. And on any given Saturday, it was me and my assistant cook would create the food that was on our hot bar that would feed 150 people. That's 2 people, the labor of 2 people for a few hours creating enough food for 150 people. So the wheels started spiraling, and we created this meal plan catalog of things that we could do to get together to feed our families. And so for years, as a working mother, I was having all these foods prepackaged in my refrigerator, ready to go. And this took so much time away from my food prep and all the things that I needed to do. And yes, my kids would bitch and complain because they didn't want to eat whatever, but the food was already made. And from there, I started doing community dinners, which is a different model than a restaurant. You buy a seat at a table. And this also was born out of, as a single mom, I would drop off my children on Friday night and pick them up on Sunday morning, and then I'm eating 9 meals by myself. And I didn't mind it. At times it was nice to have the quiet, but there were also times where I felt so lonely and hungry for interaction with other human beings and didn't want to be sitting at a table by myself eating a meal. That didn't make any sense to me. So the concept of the community kitchen, the community dinner model, is you're buying a seat at a table and you're sitting with someone that you may not already know. And oftentimes I would have conversation prompts at the table or things like that to help break the ice of people. There would be little cards in the seat place, get the person diagonal from you and ask them a question about, what do you know about your grandmother, or things like that, right? These were kind of just organic conversation starters. And that turned into this thing where we would meet to do the community cooking. And then the dinner would happen afterwards. And it's open to anybody. If people can't pay, great. If people can pay, sure. But it's a more organic model, really, to just get people together making food and then sharing the meal together afterwards. We're on kind of a pause right now in doing that because I'm trying to expand it into a much bigger program. But here's the thing too, is every community supported agriculture is a big thing in New England where I live. So my CSA farm, I do the community dinners on our farm 3 times over the summer, and I just cook with whatever she has in excess that week. So currently we've got a lot of garlic scapes. We're going to be making a lot of garlic scape pesto, making stuff together, and anybody who's a member of the farm can come and enjoy that dinner. We all collectively get together. If people want to potluck and bring stuff, they can, but again, nobody's turned away, and anything excess at the end of the night, people can take with them. Again, this is a sustainable model in the fact that when I teach this as a program, I do this as a program at our local food. We have a food bank kind of situation. And I'll usually do it with 6 single parents who are young, who have not yet learned how to meal plan, budget, do any of that. And they've been given an EBT card. So they've been given access to food, but they don't know how to make the food. They don't know how to use the food. So each person, there will be 6 women usually, and I'll give them a list of things. You buy the onions. They're using their EBT card to do this, right? You get the potatoes, you get the carrots, you get the celery. So they're really only investing maybe It's a little bit more expensive now, but it's like $30 to $40 a week. And then we all come together and we're making a grain salad, a soup, and some sort of protein-based thing that they then pack up and take with them. And now they've learned how to use their food stamps, their meal planning, and we're collectively coming together. They don't know each other in the community, and there's childcare happening while we're all cooking together. And that's usually a high school volunteer at the kitchen that we work at. It's out of a church. So this is also like a church-based program where they're getting. So these are threads of things that are very easy to start in your own community. It doesn't require any sort of startup costs. All church kitchens are available to anybody to use. This is like part of them having the kitchen. Any sort of like collective co-op space that you could rent that has somebody that has like a serve safe. So again, renting that space, 2 hours is enough time for 8 to 10 people to come together and make enough food for an entire week's worth of stuff. And this is an ebook that I have been slowly plugging away at. So this will be available, I swear, by at least mid-July. Whoops. How to get this off the ground running, what it takes, like what equipment you need, some basic meal plan structure seasonally organized so that it goes along with what's growing at each time of year, and then how to like host a community dinner, how to do these things in your community. So that's the gist of that.
How do you get the word out?
Facebook. My very first community dinner was Facebook. We just did word of mouth for years. And this is the thing too, like when we started doing it, there were 10 women. And then other women were catching on to it. And it was kind of like, hey, we'd like to do that too. And then, looped in with that, I also do seasonal medicine making. So we'll do a week where we're making elderberry syrup and salves and antibacterial rubs and fire cider. So now everybody's going into fall with all the things that they would need to help keep their family healthy, and we collectively made it together. And this costs, we're doing this for a fraction of what you would pay if you bought this in a shop. So, but yes, I've only ever done word of mouth or some sort of social media promotion.
Yeah. All right. So I love that, obviously. And I always love asking you to share that because I think it's such a brilliant idea. The closest, the quickest way to somebody's heart is through their stomach. And it's something that's so primal for all of us to sit around, like we've seen with some of my videos the past couple of weeks, how many people identify with the idea of sitting around a campfire with a bowl of stew, listening to an old lady telling stories. We all are craving that. I think the biggest difference for us to recognize in this day is that it is completely up to us to make it happen, because it's just not, unfortunately. Some people in some pockets, like what Shannon's doing, but unfortunately we don't all live up in Massachusetts. So it falls on us, right? The burden falls on us. If you want a community, you have to be a part of building it. If you want to have that village, you have to also show up as somebody that's worthy of holding that space for others just as much as you want it for yourself, right? So this is really what this is all about, is how do we do that? Just the little tweaks here and there. And I think it also comes down to discussing values, right? This is where the nitty-gritty comes in, because before we can discuss the different systems, I think it's important to discuss the values, because the systems will always reflect those values. So a great example is what Shannon's talking about. The value that was important to her was not just feeding these women and creating an atmosphere to feed them and everyone gets fed and has communion with one another, but it's also teaching those, single mothers how to meal plan their EBT cards, how to plan their budget out successfully. That's a value that she's adding to that moment. So it's not, at the end of the day, yes, it's amazing if you can get a group of people together just to have fellowship. but it's going to be more linked, I would say, to the matriarchal sense when you have that value underneath the reason why, right? It's the reason why you want to get these people together. I would say Christians are kind of like professionals at this. They love inviting you to things, but there's always that underlying value of they want you to join their church, right? Unfortunately, that tends to be their case most of the time. But it's a model to follow in your own life for building your own matrifocal community around you. That having that valued baseline is always important, I would say. Do you have any thoughts to that, Shannon?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're just at such a turning point, and people are feeling so hopeless and not really seeing what direction that we can go. And I understand and value, and I feel that sometimes, but I also know that it's the micro adjustments that we make that make change happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the little actions that we take that actually initiate great change. So, in my own observation in doing these community dinners over the past 6 years, is like, there are a lot of people who live in isolation. And I think that that's a part of why we're so fragmented, is there is so much isolation. And just like Desiree said, those community spaces that are like open to people tend to be very church oriented. Like, what is the community space that is available for the, people who don't align with that? And this is where we find our common ground. We all need to eat. And food is a love language for many people. A lot of people love cooking, and we just don't have those places and spaces to share that as an exchange. And I think that shifting the mindset of like, how do we create more spaces for community? The word community is broken down as an invitation. Come, unity. Like, I welcome you into this space of where we can all be one. And, that is the baseline of where we can all be one. We all need to eat. And, it's not just our bellies that are filled in those communal spaces, but our spirits are filled. And when we can share in that meal that has been made with loving intention, not just our bellies are nourished, but a part of us that is hungering for deeper connection is also met. And so this is also, again, a huge part of the mental health field that I think is very limited in sitting down to have talk therapy. Like, there is so much more to it than that. We have to also be nourishing people's community, people's spirit, people's physical body. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Another idea as well that I had mentioned before, but I've seen some women here in my area, in my state, that are starting groups that are basically like clothing swaps.
Yeah.
Or single mothers doing, or any mother really doing like baby clothing swaps and stroller swaps, like having it all encompassed of like, all right, so you have a 3-year-old now, you don't need all the things that you needed when they were 2 or 1. So you bring all that old stuff to this swap meet. Some other mother who now has a 6-year-old doesn't need all the stuff for her 4-year-old. So you see how it's kind of this amazing community in itself, because you're finding what you need from those within your community, and it's completely free. And I love that idea so much, because so much of this experience on this world right now is consumerism. And it's insane to me, when I became a new mother, how many things I was told that I needed that I never used. I never used it. So just imagine, but doesn't mean every mother never used it. It just means in my situation, I never needed it. So now I have this perfectly good thing that's never been used to bring to this swap meet. it could really benefit a single mother who it could be useful to them. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I love that idea because it's, and what Shannon's talking about as well, because it's not just, again, what you can get from the community, but what can you give as well. It's a collaborative effort, which I just love. I love the both of these ideas because it doesn't take a whole lot of money to make it happen.
Mhm.
If anything, you can decide how much money you want to spend on it. If you guys all want to pitch in to rent out a really big place or something for some event, I mean, that's a whole other option too. But it doesn't have to be this big grand thing. It just needs to be the community. Is it based in community? Is it based on the values that you see needing to be cultivated in your community? And if that's it, then that's it, right? Like that's your answer. I think there's a lot of other ideas out there, and I would love to hear your guys' ideas if anyone has any when we open up for discussions here, if you guys want to hop in the panel. But I want to keep going as well because another big question that I think that we get asked a lot is how would conflict be handled in a matriarchal setting? And I think this is one we should also address today. Because if we move away from dominance-based systems, there are different ways of handling disagreements. A lot of cultures that practice matrilineal words, I lost my words. The people who practice these, though, they tend to lean towards elder mediation, meaning the opinion of the elders, the oldest of the clan, of the village, is respected. And it's because of the experience that they've gone through. No other reason really but that. It's not because they are entitled in some way, they have more money than anyone else. No, it's that they've gone through this life already. They've come out learning a lot of really good lessons that the younger generations can definitely learn from. So when a conflict arises, more often than not, that is what ends up happening is they go to the elders, they go to the family unit to discuss it first and foremost. But at the end of the day, it's really about restoring harmony. So that can happen in many different ways, whether that be, asking the two people to confront one another with a third party there to make sure that things are fair, but that's also discussed. That's an option. Is it, I've heard of some communities where they will completely surround the person that has done this evil deed or even evil act or criminal act or whatever. And instead of throwing stones at them, they all are throwing verbal affirmations of love and of that person's character, saying, I remember the time that you knitted this sweater for my sister and she really needed it on a cold day or whatever. It's just them reminding that person of how good their character actually is. And something about that, like, brings tears to my eyes. It brings tears to my eyes because how beautiful is that? How far away are we from that? And it's sad to think about, but it's also really inspiring to think about too, because it's possible. There are people already doing it. And all it takes is those of us who are willing to be the strength, right? When the strength isn't available to everyone else, you're the one willing to stand up in strength to hold space for that other person. Now, I understand this conversation gets really nuanced, right? Because there are some crimes that some people are definitely like, that's unforgivable. And I would tend to agree with you in some cases, right? But it doesn't mean that everything is pushed to that side of the polarization of it, right? There is this happy medium where things are appropriate. What are the words? I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. The crime and the punishment are more just, right?
Mhm.
So things like that are important, I think. And Shannon, do you have any thoughts just with that little section there?
Yeah. So there is a quote that I kind of base my practice on. I work with a lot of traumatized children who, are having behavior issues and they're causing problems in the school and in their home lives. And there is an African proverb that says, the rejected child will burn down the village just to feel its warmth. Mm. And if we are brave enough to come into a place of awareness that people act out because their needs are not met. If we went to another country and did not have the same language, we would act out that we needed food and someone would understand that. When children are acting out, it's because they don't have the language to express their needs. When adults are acting out, it's because somewhere along the way their needs were not met. So in the same way that you're talking about framing this justice system, to acknowledge that first and foremost. Not that this person committed a crime, not that this person did a thing, but the awareness that somewhere along your journey, your needs have not been met. Somewhere along the way, you had a distorted sense of right and wrong, and we need to correct that collectively so that you're no longer committing these crimes or causing harm to people in this community. And that's a moment where we sit and have this collective acknowledging of, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. This is the Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian, kind of healing ceremonial thing. I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. When you can collectively go through that and be acknowledged that, yes, there was pain and trauma that happened to you. And I see that because of that, you have become distorted in who you are as a human being. And we want to help you correct that rather than you fucked up, now you're going to jail. So in the matriarchal model, it is a more holistic approach to acknowledging that some harm has been done to the person who has committed crime. Mm-hmm. And in that, yes, I see somebody pointing out Gabor Mate. Gabor Mate is a huge, very much influences my understanding of the traumatized brain and why the person responds and reacts the way they do. We will constantly have people creating trauma and causing harm until we acknowledge that base level, that harm has been done to you. And therefore you're perpetuating that harm onto other people. So we have to stop that pattern by holding space for your wound. Mm-hmm. And I think in shifting that, we would see a dramatic drop in crime.
Absolutely.
And, the same way that you're acknowledging, yes, there are crimes that are unforgivable, the harm that is done to children, things like that. It's because these things are still shrouded in shame and hidden that we don't ever move past them. Mm-hmm. But that model of changing things up to acknowledge that something has happened to the person is where that shift begins.
Yeah, absolutely. And for sure, again, big nuanced conversation, honestly.
Yeah.
Because understood, I mean, there's some parts of this can be really difficult to really grasp what is being asked of you in a community setting like that. But maybe the goal is not winning every argument. Maybe the goal is preserving the community after that argument has ended, right? I think that needs to be the primary focus. And I think as mothers, we understand that the importance of keeping the peace in the house, right? But there's also that level of I'm also not going to let you walk all over me. There's a boundary here. And that's essentially what we're saying, as far as criminal activity or things like that, or making sure people are being disciplined, or however you want to verbalize it. It's very, very nuanced, but it is important that I think that we tapped into that a little bit here today, because all that to say, at the end of the day, there are other options. It doesn't have to look the way that we've been taught, the way that we've been raised, that this is what it has to look like. And it's just not true. I think when we bring it back to relationship, just as Shannon said, that's where we're going to see the majority of this energy just start shifting and taking off, because I feel energetically like we're in a season where most people are keeping themselves guarded. So the whole point of this transition that we're talking about is opening those walls up, right? Allowing other people to speak into your life while also standing in your own confidence to speak into others as well. That's where that energy starts to blossom and just grow exponentially. Because right now it is this isolation. It's back to that loneliness epidemic, right? But we got to recognize that we are part of the problem too. It's us. It's our decisions that we're making. I'm choosing to not reach out to somebody. So you're staying in a loneliness epidemic, as opposed to saying, I'm going to be the courageous one and reach out today. This is just what I need to do. Knowing that it's what you need, but also knowing that it is reciprocal as well. Like the person you're reaching out to, I'm sure would love to have your ear to listen every once in a while too. Super important. Let's see. So in a matriarchal, like I'll use that word loosely, right? Situation, it's not about the women leading the men. It's about men and women having a shared leadership where we all know what each other's roles are. So what roles do healthy masculine and feminine energies play in building community? Well, we see the men as the protectors, right? The builders, the innovators, the guides. And then we see the women as the nurturers, the organizers, the culture keepers, which I love that phrase, and the life tenders. So it's not about putting people in whatever role that, whatever, like we see today in the corporatized world, where it's like, it doesn't matter, you'll learn the skill, you just need to work the job. It's not like that. It's very much like, where is your area of expertise? What lights your soul up? Those are the areas that you will be nurtured in growing more towards. So, some women don't want to be mothers. That's fine. You still have a responsibility to the children of that village, of that town. Even though you're not a mother, you still have certain responsibilities. Same thing with the men. But it's really more about shifting that perspective, totally shifting the perspective around in your head, the paradigm. Because every person contains aspects of both, right? Every person can be a protector and a nurturer. They can be the innovator and the culture keeper. It's just a matter of you trusting who you are, what your purpose was to be sent here, and why, and what highlights can you bring to that community? Because everyone is different. And it's really about you stepping into your perfect, what's the word? Lose all my words today. It's your area of expertise. I'll just leave it there.
Niche. Yeah, your niche, your like little space of
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think would change first if we wanted to move forward in a healthier society tomorrow? What is the first thing that you think would change, Shannon?
I'm reading comments in the thread here as I'm listening to you talk. So I'm like, my ADHD brain is excited to hear two conversations at once. I've seen a couple people in here conversing about vulnerability, right? So we have to, in the awareness that we've all been complicit in partaking in broken systems, whether consciously or unconsciously, whether that's because we're stuck and we feel like we can't do anything else, whatever the case may be. Step one, I have been complicit in broken systems and I no longer want to operate from this place of being. Step two, I'm going to be vulnerable and allow myself to step outside of my comfort zone and and welcome in new ways of thinking, being, and doing. And I'm seeing people in here talking about their isolation and how hard it is to get out and make friends. And, people are longing for community and wanting to connect. And honestly, on here is where I wish we could all like transport into one space and be in these spaces, right? Because in our own lived communities, we don't feel that there's places. And somebody mentioned third spaces, right? those are not welcome places anymore. After COVID, that third space kind of got eliminated. So we have to begin by being vulnerable enough to step out of our comfort zone and try something new and be something new and be the change we want to see in the world, as cliche as that sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But like opening up to the possibility of I want new things to happen. I think just opening ourselves up to that allows for that new path to like guide us a little deeper. And that kind of has to be a starting point, right? That awareness of I don't want to do this or be part of this anymore. And I'm going to be vulnerable enough to step into something new. And from there, that's where it kind of, the path opens up before us in that space.
Yeah.
But it does have to be an intention that each person is making to like that there has to be something more than this. And from that, like our own curiosity is piqued and things catch our eye and our attention is drawn towards other things. And we have to follow those, little breadcrumbs as they get dropped on our path once we make that intentional choice to step into something new.
Mm-hmm. This also made me think about like the question I had asked you. And I think one of those areas would be education, right? So this taps back into what are you doing to raise your children or the children in your community in a way that their education is going to be something that helps them in the future, doesn't deter them, right? This could be an example so far as creating a homeschool group with other parents that are all willing to do this work together. And you guys can change, your schedule around however you need to do that. Another option would be, like a childcare circle or whatever it's called. I think there's an actual name for it somewhere, but it's where basically you change off with other parents. You say, I need my child watched on this day. And then a couple days later, that parent who's watching your child will then be the one, that you're watching their child for that day. And there's no payment exchanged at all. It's the payment is the watching, right? So it's these little things you can do with each other that are going to help to cultivate that community feeling, that community effort. So that when the time comes, like we're talking about with the food systems, right? Like it's gonna feel easier because you're gonna already have the people available who all are already ready to do the thing. It just has to start somewhere. It just has to start somewhere. Creating a group text, right? With 3 or 4 other people in your community saying, it's summertime, y'all. What are our plans? Let's make some plans for summer. Let it start there. But just know, like Shannon and I both are saying, there is a value behind it. There is a reason why you're doing it. And hopefully they're going to catch on to that reason. Or you can be open and upfront about it. Hey, y'all, let's build a matriarchy, and people will be on board with that. I think that at the end of the day, it starts with the culture. And that is what will move the government to act. But it starts with the culture. You're building the culture right now. I think that we might lose that sense of like ability, but it's not true. We are not helpless victims of this life. We have options. We can decide. I'm going to start this. I'm just going to start it. You don't need someone's approval to do it. You don't need anything other than your own willpower to say, I'm just going to start one step in front of the other. Let's see. We get now into a bit more of the nitty gritty because a lot of the matriarchal thinking lineage is family based, right? But yet we're coming against a cross section of our culture where a lot of people are doing this, going no contact with their parents. We got a lot to talk about there, do I believe that that's a good choice? Yes, and it's also a good choice to build up your strength to then allow that person an opportunity back into your life. That's what I truly believe. Because at the end of the day, it's about restoring relationship. It's not about just shoving people out of your life and thinking that you're healed. Unfortunately, that's just not how it works. It's the same thing as getting a wound, right? And you just ignore it. Well, just because you're ignoring it doesn't mean that it's not there festering and getting worse. Very same thing can be true when we're discussing, having to deal with these older generations that just straight up don't see things the way that you do. Some of them might be racist. Some of them might be sexist. Some of them might have opinions that are absolutely out of this world. And you're like, you're an embarrassment. I don't want you to talk to anybody around me, But I think that the goal, however, is to make sure that that relationship is restored. Now, does that mean that you have any control over that other person? Let's give an example of like a mother and daughter, right? The mother could be very covert narcissistic, and it's not healthy. You can still keep that person in your life, but with very strong boundaries. And I say that with an asterisk because if you are not capable yet of holding strong boundaries, then I completely understand why it's necessary for a time to make sure that they're not in your life. You have to figure out who you are and what your boundaries are before you bring them back in your life. But I believe at the end of the day, that is the goal, is to bring them back into your life in whatever capacity you can handle with those boundaries, right? I know. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Well, from that too, we can go back to that same like proverb from before, which is, the rejected person will burn down the village just to feel its warmth. And this is transferable to personal relationships too. The narcissistic abusive mother who has created very poor boundaries with her children and not done a good job is burning that down to feel the warmth, right? So the fire of her rage and anger is the only warmth she knows. Mm-hmm. So in holding space to be like, yes, I see that you have not been given good systems, and your anger is the warmth that you're needing to feel. So, that's a brave move to make. This is the relationship I had with my mother. She was covert, narcissistic, very abusive. And, I reached a point of being like, wow, this all stems from her not having good systems, not having good support. And she's projecting all her brokenness onto me, and I can keep receiving this shrapnel, or I can take it out and hold some space for the awareness that you did not have your needs met. Right. You were not set up for success. And so I'm going to be the one to build that bridge so that we can get into a better space. And I think that when we can be brave enough, as you're talking about, and healing generational traumas, healing family systems, it has to come from the people who are in a higher space of understanding, perspective, and awareness to say, my wound on this situation doesn't matter anymore. I'm willing to step past that wound. And that's not saying that the wound is not there, right, but I'm stepping past that wound to create a bridge for us to get into a better space. Mm-hmm. And in acknowledging that you don't have the tools and whatnot, it does create a more open dialogue. And this is the work that we do when we're talking about integrating and reunification in broken family systems. Is each person has to come to the table and be like, the past does not matter. Here we are today, standing on the potential of building a new foundation. And how do we move forward from here with better awareness and respect and the ability to cultivate a new relationship, a relationship of now, not a relationship of then, but now. And every time you move back into, well, that one time, we live today. We don't live back there. We live only here. So, this is transferable in all our relationship systems, and we need to be moving in more of less of the shame and blame and more of the holding and acknowledging.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Tracy, I'm glad to hear that. It's a very real thing, guys. And I think that not enough people are talking about it, which is why I felt like I had to mention it today, because, it's so easy. It's so easy to just you're not in my life anymore. Screw you. You hurt me. It's a lot harder to set a strong boundary and stick by that boundary, right? To say, what happened hurt, but I'm choosing to look, like Shannon's saying, now. I'm looking at today. I'm not going to look at what happened in the past. I'm choosing today to be the final line in the sand. We're moving forward from here. There's no shame. I'm going to go ahead and say this. There's no shame if you do not feel like you are in that position right now. In fact, I expect that from most people. You've got to go through that season, that lone wolf season, where you don't have the introspection coming at you from everyone around you, and you're only listening to yourself so that you can be in a good spot to then step back into that community and say, now I've got the boundaries I need, right? And this, again, we're talking about the example of the mother, like if you have a narcissistic mother, but this goes with anyone in your community. There could be people that are in your community that don't have the same political beliefs as you. There could be people in your community that might think, heaven forbid, that one race is better than another. And that can go any direction, okay? It's not just one race. It's all races have the potential of having someone think that their race is better than everybody else. That's a true potential. There's also a potential that you're going to have people who are deeply hurt and injured from their past experiences that makes them so rough around the edges that you just don't even want to bother with them. I encourage you to bother with them because what really needs to happen is those are the people who need the biggest hug. They're the ones who need the most love because they never received it. More often than not, that's the reason why they're so closed off. Is because they did have an open heart at one point and it got stompled on. Somebody stomped on it. Something happened in the past that made them build those strong walls. So it really is, again, goes back to your character. Who are you? What is your spark that you're bringing to the community? And have faith in that. Have trust in that it's there for a reason. You know, I'm the type of person that's always been like a social butterfly my whole life. All these groups of friends, doesn't matter, ethnicity, religion, doesn't matter. Everyone loved me in high school because I just loved everyone else. When I approached, I was the weird quirky girl that signed her yearbook saying Desiree the alien, which is hilarious because I felt weird. I felt weird because I never met anyone else like me. But it didn't change the fact that I knew that this is who I am and I have to keep showing up in this way. And thankfully, because I did that, I was able to gain influence with so many different people in my life who trusted me, who loved me, who understood that if they ever needed anything, they could reach out to me because I gave them that vision of myself from day one. It's never been about, I want to be cooler than the next girl. I want to make sure that you accept me over this person. So I'm going to put up this front or this face. I'm just weird and quirky. Like I laugh at the weirdest things and that makes people's guards fall down and it's beautiful. It's a good thing. So trust the character that you've been given in this life. There's a reason why you're you. You are the way you are. And just trust that. We tend to spend so much time trying to like knock ourselves off of a horse that we're supposed to be riding, you know, and it's just sad. Instead, trust that you're created exactly how you're meant to be that person in everyone's lives around you, that it's medicine to them and it comes so natural for you. I believe the same is true for Shannon. I tell her all the time, like, Shannon, I just love you. I just love you. And she just laughs because she's like, okay, I love you too, you know.
I love you too, yeah.
Yes, but there's just something about her energy, her quirkiness, her cute dimpled smile, you know, that brings me to life. It lights me up. Same thing with Jules if she were here, you know. There's quirks about her that I'm just like, oh, Jules, I love you, you know. So it's important to foster that energy more in your life. And it's so true that what you focus on is what grows. So if you're focusing all the time on how horrible this world is and how awful these things are and how all these 50 million things are happening to everyone else all over the world, yes, you can see how that will affect your energy. And it's not to say not to care. Obviously, yes, care. But just understand, again, I've mentioned this before in a past chat, but we are not physically capable of handling all the news in the world. But yet we live in a society right now where it's given to us all the time. You flip to the next video and there's 2 earthquakes back to back in Venezuela. You know what I mean? So it's not about not caring, but it is about holding, again, your strong boundaries, your capability. What are you capable of handling today? Because the whole point is to give from a full cup, because you can't give from an empty one at all. So if you want to build these communities, it comes down to these little details, these little things that you think don't matter. They do. Pay attention to where your attention is going. Is it constantly in a stress mode? Then you know that there might be something there that is worth looking at. Why am I so stressed right now? What can I do to alleviate this? Asking those questions, I think, matter. Do you want to add anything to that, Shannon, real quick?
No, I agree with that, and I always use a term with clients and people I'm working with that I call quest ions. So when you ask the question, your ionic resonance gets put in that magnetic state, right? So if I take a balloon and rub it on my head, it's going to create a magnetic resonance. If I wake up every day and ask a question, how can I find more community in my life? Where can I be more connected with people? I'm feeling super isolated and I need to be connected with somebody. Let the doors of opportunity open up. That you're creating the ionic resonance for that question to be answered. Like, we really are in that space of being energetically aligned with the things that our thoughts, our awareness, and our actions line us up with. Yeah. So I think if we all start asking these questions every day, how can I build community? How can I create structures that transcend beyond what we're living in now, rather than feeling disempowered? Just simply asking the question is going to put us in a much more state of alignment for those things to come through. Yeah. They want us disempowered. They want us overwhelmed. They want us paying attention to earthquakes that are happening all over the world. But what is happening in the 5-mile radius of your being right now? Yeah. And how can you be more present in that space? Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Hello, darling. So we're going to open up now to, if you guys have any questions or opinions you want to share, just send me an invite. And what is your name?
So my name is Meg.
Hi, Meg.
Hi. Really, really enjoying this. I have actually a pretty specific question that really leans in on what, and I follow you, but I'm new to your live, so I don't know Mama's real name.
Shannon.
I think you said Shannon. Okay. So I follow and track everything that you said. Love to print it, put it on the walls. Looks great. I'll read it every day. No problem. However, my question is, I've been in survival mode for the better part of 30 years. I'm 44. So when I say over 30 years, it's from the time I can recall the trauma beginning, which was obviously not from birth. So I can't say I've been in well, I was adopted. So maybe I have been in survival mode for 44 years. Yeah. So anyway, it's narcissistic mother into really, really unhealthy and bad relationships, into an abusive marriage, and just 2 years now out of that. And so my question is, see, stupid healing, because it makes you cry. So my question pertaining to ask yourself, in this moment, serve this moment, be in this moment. And I believe that is an appropriate step forward for me. However, when you've been in survival mode as long as I have, you really do develop, what's the term I'm looking for? Your coping mechanisms. And a big one of mine was people pleasing. Mm-hmm. And so I've got so much influence in my brain, in my mind, in my heart from other people that I can't even distinguish yet, because I'm so recently out. I can't even distinguish necessarily between mine and theirs. And that even crosses over into one of my big arguments right now, my big frustrations, is that I've been living for 44 years off of a checklist that was created by people who are not permanent fixtures here, because we all live and die. And yet it wasn't until the last couple of years that I started realizing, wait, how come we're not living more in line with the universe? How come we're not taught to do that? Why are we kept so busy with checklists for society that we hardly even have the opportunity to realize that we are here for more? And so if you take all that people pleasing and then on top of that you put this new awakening that is brand new to learning, when you're like, this should have been side by side learning, 30 years ago. How do you, that's not sit here, ask yourself a question and get a clear answer mindset. How do you taper that down? How do you without, and throw some ADD on top of that, right? So how do you hunker down into that place of peace where you can confidently walk away from that conversation knowing you actually had it with yourself?
Yeah, that's a big question, Meg.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I can give you my 2 cents and then I'll let Shannon respond.
Yeah.
But I mean, what first came to mind for me is what I like to teach you guys about is the difference between wolf medicine and lone wolf medicine, right? Wolf medicine is about that community. It's about being in communion, relationship. But then the lone wolf medicine is literally a season of your life that you are meant to spend by yourself, where you're not accepting any outside opinions about who you are and what your purpose is. None of that is a part of this lone wolf season. So what you're explaining to me sounds a lot more like it's getting the physical body to be trained, because your brain seems like it wants to be there, right? It's just the body itself maybe needs a bit more of that somatic healing, which means spending that time alone, meditating, feeling in your body what it feels like to actually relax, even if it's just for 5 minutes on the couch. But it's being fully in that moment for all of those 5 minutes, right? It's allowing yourself to come back down into the body. Because a lot of times when we're in survival mode, what I've noticed, at least with me, you might be the same, but it's almost like you completely get disconnected from the body itself. Your mind is going 50 miles per hour, trying to figure out the next and the next and the next. Meanwhile, the body is taking shallow breaths, right? Meanwhile, the body isn't sleeping very well. And it's important to recognize that all three are important in this life journey: mind, body, spirit. So for me, it's about bringing you back to that stage one, back to the womb, if you will, where you're on purpose creating a space, an atmosphere for yourself to practice breathing, practice rest. And it can be so hard for some of us, especially if we've been taught go, 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 go. It feels like you're committing a crime when you sit down and rest for 5 minutes.
Well, you feel a little stupid when you can't do it.
Right.
You're like,
Yeah.
why is this is dumb that I don't know how to do this.
It's not dumb. It's just is what it is. And there's no reason to judge what's happening right now. There's no reason at all. No one else is judging you for it. So don't judge yourself for it, right? It's that kind of thing. And I think that you needed to hear that, because that comes along with that people pleaser mentality. That's like, I have to do it the right way. There is no right way. The right way is your way, right? You decide what your meditation looks like. You decide if it's going to be sitting down with a notebook and writing out 50 times, I am loved, I am loved, I am loved. That might be what it is for you, and that's okay. It might be literally sitting in complete silence for 5 minutes and practicing being the observer of your thoughts. That could be what helps you. It's just a matter, I think, of you figuring it out, of how to connect the mind, body, spirit back together. Because right now it's a bit of a disintegration. It's like I'm my people pleaser, fight or flight over here. Meanwhile, the body, like I said, is doing these things, and my mind and my spirit feels like it's doing these other things. So it's really about bringing it all back into that synergy. And I want to hear as well what Shannon has to say too about this.
Yeah, everything that Desiree said, I 100% agree with that and back that up. And then, the awareness that people pleasing is a trauma response. That's often an unintegrated aspect of our shadow selves, that our worth is attached to what we can do and give to other people. That, and this, makes perfect sense that you're adopted, and this is a trait of yours that is often a like, that goes way deep into some core. But from everything that Desiree just said, I reiterate that as well. And learning the sacred art of no, being able to say no. Mm-hmm. And so when you can step into that, the observer observing, like, why am I saying yes to this? Why am I needing to? Am I attaching this to my worth? And when you can get into that lone wolf space and just be like, I'm going to meet my own needs today. And I'm going to invite support to come into my life from that place of holding myself in that sacred space of I am worthy just as I am right now today. Mm-hmm. And then the second part of that is the plants are here to give us their medicine. The plants are here to support us in our journey. So whenever I'm working with someone and they're struggling with people pleasing, I have them work with the plant rose. Roses have the highest vibrational frequency of the plant world, but roses also come with thorns. Mm-hmm. And so being able to be in our fully embodied feminine energy, being able to be fully present in who we are without any sense of obligation, also having very clear boundaries on that, like owning our own thorns. And that is really hard for people pleasers. Like when that first time that you say no, that first time that you reject something that you feel like is an obligation, there's going to be guilt and shame attached to that. And let yourself feel that. Let yourself be present in that. And also, oh fucking well, right? And the more that you can own that sacred no to honor your own body, being, and spirit, that people-pleasing tendency starts to feel really wobbly, and you start to get really aware of those energy exchanges. And you should always be in a state of reciprocity with any energetic obligation you have with people, places, or things in your life. Is this a balanced relationship? And if it's not, oh fucking well, cut that cord. And with no sense of guilt or shame, and from the awareness, like, I will only have people in my life who are in this space of being with me. So that's my 2 cents on that, Meg. I hope that helped.
Thank you. And I do have one kind of statement and one kind of follow-up question. Like I said, I got out 2 years ago. I'm unfortunately still in a very high conflict custody and divorce case, and it's one of those things where it's bittersweet, because being out and finding my center and finding my balance and finding the word no and finding, that there is still, even though I need to be true to myself because of Court and because of who he is, there is still a tightrope to walk. So it's like there is still I can't abandon rules and live by my own center entirely, because there's still a lot at risk, a lot of high stakes stuff. The reason I say it's bittersweet is because I have learned how to stop his energy before it reaches me and still deal with him, which has been very beneficial. The bitter part is that I have to deal with it at all, and that's very frustrating, but that is, we don't get to choose those things going forward. All I can do is protect myself and my daughter. So that's a very weird thing to be experiencing when you're just ready to dive headfirst into healing, and like you just got something constantly nipping at your feet. It's a very weird headspace to walk that kind of tightrope. Mm-hmm. The kind of question I guess I had is, I hate roses. And I don't even mean, like, I do a lot of discussions with ChatGPT. I've recently really gotten into herbs. I've been ordering things that are, good for my soul, good for grounding. I'm making my own tea blends. It's really becoming a ritual for me, and it's been really fantastic. But this damn ChatGPT keeps saying, I really love rose for you. And I'm like, you need to stop, because it's not only the flower I don't like, it's the taste, it's the smell. I don't like anything about it. Could there be something there where I'm just like,
we're both nodding. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is there like there's some internal, I can't even, it's almost like, you go to like a healer and you can't lift your arm against a certain element, and they do a couple of things, and then all of a sudden your arm can withstand the element. I feel like the rose is somehow like my kryptonite, but it's also not supposed to be.
Well, rose represents in the spiritual world self-love, all-encompassing
Oh,
self-love.
sure it does.
So if you are feeling a distance from it, like I don't want to, think about that symbolically. What is that saying about you?
It makes
in
me
spirit?
sick. Like
What's that?
it makes me sick. I smell, especially not directly from the flower itself. Like if there's something that was created from the rose, but it's not the rose. If I smell that or if I taste a rose item, it actually physically makes me sick to my stomach.
Understood.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I reiterate exactly what Desiree just said right there. I don't know the name of the brand, but there's a tea blend that's Tulsi and rose.
Yeah.
And I feel like the rose is so subtle in that particular tea blend that it's a good way to start connecting with that medicine.
Okay.
But climb right in that loathing. Right? Climb right in there. Buy yourself some roses today.
Yeah.
Okay.
With thorns on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, with thorns on them, and like let yourself be in that.
Yeah.
What is surfacing for me right now in this scent? What is surfacing for me as I where am I feeling this in my body? And get in that, explore that, because it's fascinating to me. Many women that I've worked with where I suggest that, they're like, no, I hate roses. And I think Tracy, you're in here. I saw you in there, and I know that you also hate roses. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's just incredible that so many of the answer, we go around life being so mad about it, but it's like, well, hey, you can be mad about it all you want, but if you want to listen to it, there's something there. And I think that's the part where I was kind of speaking to it being very frustrating about the societal checklist versus the whole reason we're here research, if you will, that it just there's nobody, well, not nobody, because now we have people like you, but previously it was very rare to have any kind of guidance on anything that wasn't a societal checklist, and that I think has been so detrimental in so many ways for the psyche, the heart, the soul, the energy, all of that. So thank you guys so much for what you're doing, and really thank you for bringing me up here to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to add to what you just said. Meg, what is your checklist? Right? Fuck the societal checklist. What is your checklist?
I'm working on it.
Right? There's your homework assignment. Buy yourself some roses, sit down with a cup of tea. These are my needs. These are my needs that I will no longer compromise on. Yes. And this is what I need for my base level. This is me setting my new baseline. And this is where the thorns come around to protect that. And start from there. Let that be your launching point. And let it take you where it goes. See where that goes for you. And you're going to come up against resistance points. You're going to come up against challenges that come into you to make you support your boundary, right? You're going to be given an opportunity to stay in your comfort zone, or this is an opportunity for me to reinforce this new boundary I've just made for myself. And the moment that you do, boom, now you've expanded.
I'm also a Capricorn. I'm a very logical thinker. And so I actually, before I came here, I was watching your video about the Capricorn moon, actually, before I popped over. So I guess my question is, if you could give me just a little bit more guidance on the focus of the list, because in my mind, I'm in such a bad place after leaving, and I had a business that was shut down for 2 years during COVID, and then the abuse started. So the ocean just sucked me in and whipped me around. I'm literally rebuilding. And so for me, it's like I sit down and be like, well, I want it to have to be no problem, making rent and these kinds of things. But I also feel like that's not exactly what you're asking me to do. And so if you could just give me a little more insight on what I should be focusing on for this list, like where's the divide between, thinking the life I want to have versus the healing I'm doing.
I want you to Google. Oh my gosh, I just totally lost it. It's a triangle, and it shows these are our needs, our base level, and then you move up from there. And I cannot for the life of me think of what this is. It's on the wall in my office right now. But like literally start with base level needs. Write 10. I need shelter. I need food. I need community. I need companionship. I need outlets for my creative ideas, thoughts, ways, and I need support in my business. I need whatever those are, get raw and real with them, create 10 of them, never compromise. From that moment that the pen hits the paper, and you will be given resistance points. Something will come up to you and you'll be like, no, I just said I need this. This is a need. This is a base level need of mine. Because as people pleasers, we put everybody else's needs before us. The moment that you flip that switch and you make your needs the priority, that's when you're changing the energetic resonance of your own being to say, no, I need things to flow into me. I'm not just a cup that pours.
Yes.
I need my cup filled. So literal base level, what are your top 10 needs? And go from there.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Don't overthink it. Yeah, don't overthink it. Just write down your top 10 needs. And from this Capricorn full moon where you're clearing the things out and getting into that space, like that's you claiming your life force and setting the intention and moving forward. And again, I think if we all did this and we're like, I am immovable from this point forward, that's where that matriarchal system moves into it, because so many of us are people pleasers and we're savior, we have savior complexes and martyr complexes. And in that claiming of our own life force, honoring the gifts and skills that we have to bring here, and that's our baseline. I think that's where the shift begins, is on an individual energetic level and moving from there.
I agree. And just so you know too, the company is called Organic India. They're amazing.
Oh, yes.
All of their tea is made with tulsi, which is essentially holy basil, which is an adaptogen, which helps your body adapt to stress a lot easier. So regardless of what flavor you choose, although I will recommend the rose because my God, is it amazing. It tastes so good. And if you hate it, even if you think that you hate rose, I still encourage you to at least try drinking it, because I truly believe that is an herb, a plant that is wanting to work with you. It is asking you, it's begging you to use its medicine right now. And it's usually us when we recognize like a complete, like, I don't want anything to do with that it's touching something that's happening spiritually. Rose is trying to show you how to love yourself, how to do what Shannon's talking about, the 10 steps. I would even like encourage you during your homework session to be drinking the tea while you're making that list, because it's going to help to open up those blockages, those heart blockages that you have right now. The rose itself, even without any metaphysical property like attached to it, it will help you open that heart space just by drinking it or smelling it. So, I definitely agree. Working with rose is what you're being called to. It's typically how it works in this realm, I would say. But yeah.
Thank you. Tulsi's a pretty big base of mine right now. I will look into rose. Instead of going rose, I did incorporate osmanthus, which I believe has similar, but I believe you. I hear you. I will definitely start incorporating a bit of rose and see where it takes me.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of likened to, if you get sick and you have to take cough syrup, you don't necessarily like the flavor, but you still take it, right?
I picture myself doing this in the mirror. Okay, it's time for your medicine. No, it's time for your medicine.
Yes. Yes. And if you happen to have any rose quartz around, I think that's going to be really beneficial as well, to keep that by you and near you during this season that you're in.
Okay.
Next to your bed.
I've been relying on amethyst.
Amethyst is great. It's more of the top head chakra, where it's like the crown opening chakra, whereas the rose quartz is more heart-centered chakra. And what I'm sensing from our conversation is that's where you're needing a lot of that healing, that work done.
I think you're right, especially since now that you literally just saying that was like, and tears.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
Again,
right to me.
thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, I am so grateful that you guys came to our discussion today. I'm excited for what this means for the future. I don't think that we have too many of these Wolf Mother Councils left. We're going to have to touch base, Shannon, and see where we're at with that. I think there's maybe one or two more left. But outside of that, we hope that overall you're just getting a lot of inspiration from these talks. I hope that you guys are learning a lot. I hope that it's helping you to ask better questions in your own world of like what is possible. And I think today this is a really good place to end it. Shannon, do you have any last words you'd like to share with everybody?
No, I mean, I think that this is, I suspect we have a lot of women here with us today. I don't know how many men stuck around for this conversation, but
It's okay. We focused on them last week.
Like, I think this is a good universal homework assignment for all of us right now. Is like, yeah, can we connect more deeply with rose medicine, with rose quartz, with firmer boundaries, and really getting clear on like what is it that we need in this world? How can we honor our own sacred gifts, and how can we be more present with that sacred no? And from that place, if we all start making these micro adjustments and being more intentional with our own life force, I think that again, things like organically flow into, like, I don't even want to use the word rewarding us, but that's the alignment points, right? That's how we get into these states of alignment, is opening up and activating the potential that is here for all of us.
Yeah, I agree. And one last thing, because I just saw a question come through there about advice for living through your lone wolf season. It's doing exactly what we're talking about right now. Creating those challenges, those homework assignments for yourself, where because nothing else is coming in to distract you or pull your attention away, you get to decide where your energy goes and where it flows. So choose these homework assignments. Choose to keep a journal and write in it anything and everything. Keep all your notes and all your feelings in there. It's just one idea, just one example. There's so many different ways. But at the end of the day, it's about listening to your own body. Ask your body what it wants to do that day. Ask your younger self what it feels like doing that day, and allow yourself the freedom to do that without judgment, without shame, without guilt that you're not doing more, right? It's literally about practicing those emotions, practicing those feelings, practicing how it feels in your own body to say, I'm choosing me today. It's about me today. I have to fill this cup before I can ever try to fill someone else's. And you have to recognize it as being just as sacred as filling someone else's cup. It is just as sacred to make sure that your cup is getting full too. So I call it a sacred rebellion. Have this sacred rebellion about yourself during these seasons where you're actively choosing the opposite of what you feel like you should be doing in that moment. Because typically, again, if you're a people pleaser, your automatic response is, I need to be doing more. So you're actively rebelling against that by saying, but yet I choose to rest today, right? Yet I choose to journal today, or to meditate today, or go buy a rose quartz crystal, or whatever. Like all of these little things. It's really about treating you. Treat yourself with the same love that you expect others to treat you with. You've got to give it to yourself first, so that you then know where your boundaries lie with others, right? You've got to know for yourself first. I truly believe that. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. I love all of you so much. This video will be posted on my YouTube in hopefully the next hour or so. You never really can tell, but all of these old past ones, if you've ever missed any of them, are also posted on my YouTube, so you can go back and watch all of those as well. And we will see you again in 2 more weeks. Hope you guys enjoyed today's talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.